All right. What's going on, YouTube? John Conrad here from DroneOneMedia, and thanks so much for tuning in to my very first live stream. And decided to do one on the DJI Spark today. So first, we're going to kind of go through my thoughts on the DJI Spark. And if any of you have comments while I'm going along, questions, feel free to post them in the chat, and I will try to get to them kind of as we go along. And if you want to add anything to the conversation about the DJI Spark, feel free to comment as much as you want. I have set up super chats for today. They're by no means required, but that being said, I do appreciate the generosity to anyone who wants to contribute and help keep DroneOneMedia going steady. So first off, before we get into it, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who has supported the channel. And we started very small. I started the channel about a year ago, and we're up to, I don't know, about 3,400 subscribers. So the support is just mind-blowing. So thank you so much to everybody who has supported DroneOneMedia so far. And always leave comments down below in every video about future videos that you want to see, and I will try to get to them at some point. So that being said, let's jump into the Spark. So I made some notes here so I don't forget anything. I watched the live unveiling of the Spark when DJI hosted their event. They streamed it online. I guess my invitation got lost in the mail, but oh well, hopefully in the future I get to go to some DJI events. Also, if anyone from DJI is watching, I'm going to do a shameless plug right now. Please send me a Spark. I would love to do a review video on one. So yeah, if DJI, someone over there is watching, make sure you hook it up. That would be awesome. So the DJI Spark is, obviously everybody's seen pictures. It's tiny. It is the smallest drone DJI has made. They say it weighs less than a can of soda, which is crazy. That is very, very small and very light. And basically what they're trying to do with this drone is expand the drone market to people that aren't familiar with drones and have never flown a drone and think, that may be a little too intimidating, so they don't get into flying drones. Whereas the Spark is so simple, you don't need a controller. All you need to do is carry it in your pocket, and you can take it off right from your palm, which is really cool. And it, if you're in an amazing spot and you want to get a droney of everybody, or if you want to just take some pictures of the landscape, it's pretty neat. And I like the flexibility, the control flexibility that you have. So you can control it with just your hand using the, Darth Vader hand movements, which is pretty cool, I must say. That kind of blew my mind when I watched the guy first doing that at the event. That was really cool. But in addition to that, you can control it with your smartphone over Wi-Fi. And the range on that is 100 yards, which isn't that far, but for just controlling it from your phone, something we all have in our pocket at all times, that's pretty cool. And then they have an optional controller as well, and that will control it up to 1.24 miles away. So that's pretty nice that there is that flexibility. Say you want a little bit more range to capture some different aerial images or videos, you can always have the optional controller. So I really like that the controls are very flexible. And it does all the gestures. Basically, they've taken the gestures that are in the Phantom 4 Pro and the Mavic Pro and expanded them. The selfie, you do this or this. I don't think it matters, and it'll take a selfie of you. You can wave to the Spark and it will gain altitude. And DJI is really touting the fact that it's the simplest, smartest, and smallest drone that they've ever made. And it does seem to be very fast to set up and to get going, which is very nice, because when you're in the moment and you want to capture something really fast, you need something that is not going to take 5 minutes, and maybe the moment is already passed by the time you're ready to shoot. And that's one of the issues that I think all drone operators, all of us, run into on a daily basis, especially the ones that use that make videos with drones. By the time you get everything set up, sometimes the moment's already passed. So that is one really nice thing about the Spark, and I appreciate that DJI made it such a quick and painless process to get it up in the air. And the fact that it recognizes your face and will take off after it senses your face is pretty cool. That's definitely futuristic tech right there, and I thought that was awesome. It very innovative. DJI just continues to impress myself and a lot of people, and they're just, the competition's really far behind, and DJI is getting into the small drone market, and it's definitely a crowded market. There are a lot of players on the smaller end, on the lower end market. I shouldn't say lower end, but smaller consumer drone market. And but if anybody can succeed in a crowded market, DJI has proven to be able to succeed at the different levels. Consumer, prosumer, or whatever you want to call it, and then true professional systems. They kind of span the entire spectrum. So it seems like there's a lot of hype, a lot of excitement around the DJI Spark, and it's understandable. The fact that it's making it more accessible and easier to do and less intimidating, and it certainly is a interesting product, and it'll be really interesting to see what the response is from not necessarily drone enthusiasts, but maybe people that have never flown a drone before. Are they going to be interested in it? Because I think some drone enthusiasts, including myself, I think we get more excited about higher quality, and I know, at least for myself, I get more excited about the larger sensor on the Phantom 4 Pro, or the capabilities of the Inspire 2. The Spark is great for capturing quick moments and doing some short aerial videos, but in terms of, I think, the quality that I like to put out, I think the Phantom 4 Pro is a little bit more. I wouldn't use the Spark for filming, a lengthy video or anything like that, just because you're limited, in terms of the quality. Obviously, it only does 1080p. It won't shoot 4K, which is fine. I think 1080p, if it's high quality and crisp and really a lot of detail in the sensor, I think 1080p is more than enough. The nice thing about the Phantom 4 Pro and some of the other drones that DJI makes is you can shoot 4K, but then you can downscale to 1080p, which, in my opinion, that footage looks really nice. So you are giving up, obviously, some quality to gain the portability, and the portability of it, I don't think anyone can argue is pretty outstanding. I know there were some people that were a little disappointed that it didn't have the folding legs, which I totally understand. But at the same point, it is really small. And like, I watched Casey Neistat's video, and he put it in his jacket pocket, which is pretty crazy. And so that shows, even without folding legs, you're still getting an ultra portable drone. And I think for the one plus of not having the foldable legs is that it's a stronger body, despite being so small. So let's see. I have a question from Charlie Rock. He asks, I am 14 years old and have a budget. I am a beginner looking for my first quality camera drone. Is this the drone for me? I think the DJI Spark is probably a great drone to start on, especially with the prop guards. You can fly it inside and outside. So yeah, I would definitely look at the DJI Spark, Charlie. I think it's a good place to start. It seems like a very safe drone around kids and younger teenagers. The parents might be concerned about safety of drones. It looks to be a very safe drone, especially with the prop guards. And I think it'd be a great first drone for you. Javier, hello from Argentina. Hello from the United States. Welcome to the live stream. Thanks so much for tuning in. Yeah, and I agree. DJI is definitely trying to build drones for everyday people that aren't drone enthusiasts, and it's a pretty big gamble when you think about it, because they have such a fiercely loyal customer base, of drone enthusiasts, and now they're basically targeting. There's going to be some overlap, but I think they're targeting largely a new audience. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But with their marketing support behind it, and the kind of money they're willing to spend to launch a product like this, I could see it doing very well for them. So, all right, so let's continue on talking about the Spark. I'm going to go back over to my notes page here. Okay, so some of the really neat things, and this definitely piqued my interest, because what DJI has done is they have four of these new shots that the drone will automatically capture without you having to control it. So they have an overhead shot, which they showed on a basketball court. So people playing basketball, a droney, which is pretty straightforward. It just keeps you in the center of the frame and pulls out to show your surroundings while keeping you in the center of the frame the whole time, which is actually a really nice thing, because as I'm sure everybody knows that has flown out there, it's not always easy to keep, a pullback shot seems easy enough, but then when you actually do it and to try to keep the subject in the center of the frame isn't always easy. So that's a nice built-in feature to have on the Spark. And then the next one is circle. So it just circles the object, which is nice to have that fluid motion, because again, even with the expo turned down and when you really dial down your settings, it's not always easy to do a perfect circle around an object. So that's nice to have. And then the final one, which probably was the most interesting one to me, was called the Helix, and they described it as up and away. Basically, it circles around an object, but all the while it's gaining altitude and gaining distance from the object. So you get this nice, cinematic shot, and that's built into a drone that's basically, the body is smaller than this iPhone 7 Plus, which is pretty crazy. And they touted the DJI Go 4 app, the editing capabilities. I haven't really used that at all, to be honest. I use Final Cut Pro, so I can't really speak to that, but I have heard that it works all right. And I think really what sets the Spark apart from all of its competitors, not so much the camera, but the stabilization. And it actually has a 2-axis stabilization system, mechanical stabilization, built into the camera on a drone this size is pretty mind-blowing. And so even with that small sensor in a small drone, you're able to get stabilized footage. So it doesn't stabilize in this direction. It only stabilizes in this direction and this direction. Sorry. It doesn't stabilize the yaw. But that's not really a deal breaker, I don't think, for most people. But just the fact that you're able to get stabilized footage in such a small drone is pretty great. And it does have a f2.6 lens with a 25mm focal length. And in addition to the mechanical stabilization, it also has electronic. It takes 12.3 megapixel photos, and it does have active track. It does have active track built in, tap to fly, panorama mode. Let's see. So it can either take horizontal or vertical panoramas, which is nice. Shallow focus. So for any of my photography fans or people that use DSLRs or familiar with photography concepts, the lower the f-stop, meaning the more open the exposure is, the more light you're letting in, generally you see shallower depth of field. So you get that nice blurred background that's very pleasing to look at. And what the iPhone 7 Plus did was artificially create a blurred background with the use of the dual lens. And what DJI has done is they've included that, well, shouldn't say same functionality, but similar functionality in the DJI Spark. So you're able to take a shot of yourself, and they showed a woman climbing a cliff, and the background had a nice blur to it, which was really nice and kind of a nice feature to have. I'm sure if you zoomed in, you could probably see some artifacts and some different things, but for Instagram or some social media sites, I'm sure the quality would just would be perfectly adequate for social media. So that, I thought that was a neat feature that they included. And what kind of blew me away is thinking about how fast this thing is. This thing can go 31 miles per hour. And again, the body is like the size of an iPhone 5 or 5S, like that, pretty small size. And it goes 31 miles per hour. The flight time is up to 16 minutes, which may sound kind of short, but you got to remember how small this thing is. Most small drones, the battery life is much shorter than that. So just the fact that it's able to fly for 16 minutes, I was impressed by it. I know it's shorter than the Phantom series and the Inspire series, but you're just not able to haul a ton of weight around, with a drone that size. And you can charge it with a micro USB cable, or they do have an inductive style charging, a wireless charging that you can put it right on to charge the battery. The battery is detachable, so you're either charging it with the battery attached through the USB cable, or if you detach the battery, you can put it on their charging hub. I did hear them talk about a charging box, which essentially is a giant LiPo battery, and you're able to charge the Spark batteries using the charging box. So say you're somewhere out in the desert or up in the mountains where you don't have any AC outlets or DC outlets, you're able to charge the Spark batteries kind of on the go from anywhere, which is really a great idea. I'm just waiting to see exactly, the specs on it in terms of how much power it has. So we'll have to wait and see, the storage capacity, how many times you can charge the batteries. These are things that we don't know about yet, but I'm sure DJI will fill us in soon. Okay, let's see here. All right, so kind of went through that. The Spark has support for the dual GPS sensors, GLONASS sensors. So the sensors not only use the American satellite system, but also the Russian satellite system. So you get even more accurate GPS data because it's able to read from more satellites. So that's nice to have. It does have a forward 3D sensing system. So similar to the Phantom 4 series that has the sensors in the front. But the difference is on the DJI Spark, the range is only 16 feet. So it's 5 meters or 16 feet. So it's much shorter than the range on the Phantom series, but still the drone is able to stop and avoid obstacles with its forward sensing vision or forward 3D sensing system. Excuse me. Let's see. They talked about the vision positioning system. So the drone does have a vision positioning system on the bottom. So it's able to detect obstacles when it's landing, as well as use it indoors to hold its position really steady. So that's nice to have. And then let's see. Spark accessories. We talked about the prop guards, the charging box, remote controller. Oh, and the last thing, DJI goggles. You're able to use the goggles with the Spark, which is really nice. And if you haven't seen my videos on the goggles, I've got a review video, and then I also did a battery testing video. So I'll make sure to link those in the description of this live stream after we're done here, but it's on the channel. So if you're watching this right now, you just click the DroneOneMedia and head over and check out the review video and also the battery test video on the goggles. So hope everybody's getting their goggles soon. I've heard that I was one of the first ones to get them, but hopefully that DJI is sending more and more of them out because I know everybody's really anxious to get their hands on them, and they're pretty awesome. So anyway, let's see what people have to say. Charlie, what editing system I use? I am in the kind of Apple ecosystem, working on a MacBook Pro. So I use Final Cut Pro because it works best with Apple computers. In my opinion, at least it takes advantage of the graphics card if you have one built into your computer. But I've heard great things about Premiere, Vegas. There are lots of different programs out there. You can even use, Windows Movie Maker or iMovie. Something as simple as that works just fine for most people. And I know there's some open source video editors as well. So maybe try Googling that, open source video editors. You might be able to find some free options or very low cost options. The price of Final Cut Pro, I think, is $299 if I'm not mistaken. And then there's Motion and Compressor, which are $50 a piece, which is what I use to upload my videos. And do I have a video on how you edit? I'm a total beginner at that. Yes, I actually do. If you go on my channel under the post-production playlist, you'll find a variety of videos there about editing drone footage and color correcting and things like that. So yeah, check it out, definitely. And then let's go in. I've got some questions, so let's move on. We kind of covered everything about the Spark. Hope everybody's excited about it. I certainly am. Again, DJI, wouldn't mind you sending me one so I could review it for everybody on my channel. And you can pre-order them today. DJI says they're going to start shipping the middle of June. So we'll see. I hope they have a lot of them because I think a lot of people are pre-ordering these things. So, okay. So I'm going to pull up some questions. I actually pulled some questions from some comments of different people, and I wanted to answer them. And I want to see, I'm going to start doing this more. I'm going to start live streaming more. I hope everybody likes it. It's kind of everybody's doing it, and I wanted to kind of jump on and get that connection with you guys. I think live streaming has a lot of possibilities. Please be patient with me because I'm just kind of getting my feet wet in the whole live streaming thing. So I will get better as I go along, I promise. All right, so the first question, great info. Actually, you know what? Hang on. I'm going to switch you guys over to my screen. Okay, sweet. All right, so I pulled a couple screenshots. Let me just make it full screen. I'm going to start here with a question from Kevin. Great info, man. So you are getting 1080 signal strength even through the USB port on the back of the Phantom 4 Pro controller. And you are also able to use head tracking with this cable hookup too. Wow, I wasn't sure you could do that with the Phantom 4 Pro. So why would I even need to install the HDMI module that I had for my Phantom 4s then? That is a really good question. The only reason you will need an HDMI port on your Phantom 4 controller is if you intend to mirror what you're looking at on your tablet to the FPV, to the goggles, for example, or if you wanted to mirror it to an HDMI display. That would be the only instance that you would need the HDMI port. For my testing, the micro USB port, you plug into the goggles, you plug the USB-A port into the back of your remote controller, and it works just fine. I think personally I would like to have that option, so that's why I have the HDMI on my controller. So if I do want to fly in full screen on the goggles, and then I can always flip up the goggles and look at my tablet and manipulate the settings on there, because I think what everybody will find that uses the goggles, yes, you can change the settings on the goggles themselves using the touchpad, but I think it's easier just to do it on your tablet or on your phone that you're more comfortable with anyway, instead of learning a new system. Some people may disagree, but I just thought it was easier to manipulate my tablet than it was to, swipe and tap and all that stuff on the goggles. So I could see myself using the HDMI port if I want to use the full screen have the full screen experience on the goggles, but then if I need to change my exposure or ISO or whatever the case may be, I can manipulate that on my tablet. So great question, Kevin. Thanks for sending that in. And then Tim Anderson, can you charge while flying? I did answer this question, but I wanted to bring it up on the live stream because I think that's a really good question that Tim brought up. No, you cannot. So when you plug it into the controller, it does not say charging on the goggles. So the runtime, they say up to 6 hours. Again, if you haven't checked out my battery life test on the goggles, definitely do that. It's on the homepage of my channel. I will also link it eventually in this description. But the runtime, is up to 6 hours, and it's not charging while you're plugged in, which would be great, but it doesn't work. So I thought that was a really good question, so I wanted to bring it up in the live stream. And let's see, oh, that's horrible. Let me put that down below. And my cheesy thumbnail. Okay. Steven had a great question. Can you tell me how long the HDMI cable is? This is the HDMI cable that comes with the DJI goggles in the box. It is 1 meter long, so it's fairly short. And I was a little disappointed by that because when you're connecting it, say if you want to connect it to your PS4 or a TV or something like that, not a TV, but a PS4 or a DVD player or anything like that, Blu-ray player. Gosh, I'm dating myself. You will probably need a longer cable. And the port on the goggles is a micro HDMI cable. So the cable that they give you is a micro HDMI to full-size HDMI. But here's the kicker. If you have an HDMI module on your Phantom 4 controller, it's going to be a mini HDMI. So the cord that they give you in the box with the goggles will not connect to the HDMI on the Phantom 4 controller if you're going to connect it that way. So if you want to connect it to the remote controller and have a secondary display, which is essentially what the goggles are when you plug them in that way, you will need a micro HDMI to mini HDMI, and they have them on Amazon. I just searched micro to mini HDMI, and I found some options on there. There aren't a ton, but there were some options, and they're pretty inexpensive. So if you did want to go that route, it's a pretty cheap option. Of course, you have to have the HDMI module. I do think the Phantom 4 Pro Plus controller has it built in. Pretty sure about that. So for those that have it built in, probably makes sense to mirror the goggles or mirror your tablet or phone display to the goggles. That way you can kind of have the best of both worlds. You're able to enjoy the full screen experience on the goggles, which is really what they're intended for anyway, more so than manipulating the settings. And then you can control all the settings and change the settings from your tablet or your phone. So I think that's kind of the best way to use the goggles and the most functional way to use the goggles. So, all right, let's see if there are any other questions. Doesn't look like. All right, so I think that's about gonna wrap things up for this live stream. Let me bring it back here. All right. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to today's live stream. If you want to see more of these, let me know, what you'd like to see in the future, topics, potential topics. Definitely shoot them to me either in the comments. You can email me, DroneOneMedia@gmail.com. You can send me messages on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter @DroneOneMedia on both Instagram and Twitter. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button to never miss any upcoming videos. And yeah, hope everyone enjoyed. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next live stream. Take care.